Hello, my name is Christine and welcome to today's video. Now, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, this will be another extreme grocery budget challenge video. If you guys have not seen the other ones that I have done so far in 2020, I will leave the entire playlist down below for you. And I tried to take you guys' feedback from the previous one and incorporate some more vegetables, maybe give some more variety, increase the amount of food that I am giving a little bit. So in today's video, we are going to go shopping. I did spend a little bit more this time to feed 6 people for the entire week, assuming the only things you have in your house are some basic pantry staples like a couple of basic spices, maybe an oil or fat of some kind, and salt and pepper. Everything else will kind of be coming from scratch. I thought I did pretty well feeding my family of 6 for an entire week. I will say a lot of the recipes I made this time, the family was a huge fan of. I do want to point out, if any of you guys are struggling with food, please reach out to the services available in your area. This could be Family Crisis Center, a food bank, a food pantry. A lot of churches will help out, and honestly, a lot of the time your neighbors will help out as well if they know that you are in need. If you guys enjoy this type of video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know down below what you would do to feed your family on less than $10 a week per person. Welcome to my local neighborhood Winco. It is kind of a bigger store like Walmart, and we're gonna go through it fairly quickly today because you'll see everything that I picked up in the quote haul kind of at the end of this. I did want to mention that I know my last video was really popular because of the homemade bread that I made and how that really kind of saved the budget for the week. But I know that lately it's been really hard to find yeast. I know a lot of people are struggling with that, and I did receive some feedback that most of the recipes took too long to make. And so I tried to keep that in mind this time as I was trying to put meals together that came together as a meal more quickly. Less time in the kitchen, less time over a stove, so I did use some convenience items like the tortillas and the ready-made bread that you'll see, but I did incorporate a homemade item in the form of biscuits this time, which is still something you can make yourself. It's relatively cheap, and you do not need yeast to buy it. So I thought that was a fun little addition, and I haven't made homemade biscuits in a really long time, and my family was very, very happy about that. Oh, by the way, my Winco actually did have yeast in stock, so that's the yeast that I like to get, the Saf Instant Yeast. I went with the off-brand of Crisco, just the Winco variety. Check out these egg prices. It was 5 dozen for $3.98. That's really unheard of in my area, but I absolutely had to jump on it. What a good way to feed my family on not very much money. I did end up going with boneless, skinless chicken thighs because it was slightly less expensive than the chicken breast in the smaller package. I could have gotten a bigger package and saved some money, but I didn't want to blow my whole budget on this excess chicken. And I know that cheese is kind of a splurge, but I mean, I don't want to live my life without cheese, do you? Honestly. I still went with some frozen veggies. I thought that was a good deal. 2 loaves of the bread. And I did run into my discount store really quick just to see if they had a better price on like jam and peanut butter, and they did, so I was very happy about that. And they were giving away free samples of apples, which was fantastic, so we grabbed 2 of those as well. We are done shopping, and here are my 3 receipts that I ended up with, including tax. It is $52.96. The majority of everything purchased at Winco. There you go. 1 container of rice from Dollar Tree, and 2 things from the discount store. Now, if you take tax off, which I don't know if you think that's fair or not, some places don't charge tax on food, but mine does. But if you take the tax off, I am just under $50, $49.96. So let's call it $50 for this week's worth of food. I hope you guys can see that there are more fruits and vegetables than the very first grocery challenge that I did. Here you go. Let's go over all of it really quickly, and then we will get to the cooking. If you guys want to see the total shopping list, what I got, and the recipes I will be making, those will all be down below in the description box. Frozen veggies, small shell noodles, 5 dozen eggs for the amazing price of $3.98, 10 bananas, 2 loaves of wheat bread, some buttermilk, some flour, corn tortillas because they were the cheapest, grits for breakfast, soy sauce, ranch dressing. I did end up getting the vegetable shortening. It was cheaper than butter and I will be using quite a bit this week. And I have no doubt I will have leftovers at the end of it. A bunch of tomato products, green pepper, some onions, garlic, celery. I don't know what happened with the onions because I swear I bought 3 onions, but I only have 2 here at home. So I might need to check the trunk and see what happened. A cucumber, 2 pounds of carrots, 3 pounds of beans. This time we're going with black beans and small red beans. I was hoping to buy some pork sausage this week. The cheapest I could find was almost $3 and the pork chorizo was just a little bit over $1, but it's okay. These are all of my meat products for the entire week, this sausage and these chicken thighs, and that's it. I went to Dollar Tree for the rice because it was actually fairly expensive at Winco, and then my discount store didn't have any. Some ramen. I'm actually just using these for the noodles and not the seasoning packets. Sour cream. These are my 2 items from my discount store because I knew I could get them cheaper and I was feeling a little crunched with the budget at that point. So 1 can of peanut butter and 1 can of a really good quality strawberry fruit spread and 2 free apples that I got from my discount store because they were giving away snacks. So there it is. That's the whole haul, and let's get started with tomorrow's breakfast. Our first morning, well, our first 3 mornings of breakfast is gonna be scrambled eggs with grits. This is a dish I ate all the time growing up, all the time. I was born and raised in Texas. Grits was a staple in our house, and depending on who you are, I'm sure you guys will weigh in the comments. If you grew up eating grits, there's 2 ways to do it, savory or sweet. So which camp are you in? Team savory with like salt and cheese, or team sweet with butter and sugar? The go-to in my house was butter and sugar, but my mom prefers it salty, as does my stepmom. And I have 12 eggs in here. This is hard for me because my kids, typically when I make scrambled eggs, I'll cook about 15 and then they'll still ask for more. But I think between the 2, it should be okay. What I like about cooking grits is you only need 1/4 cup of grits per cup of water. So it goes a lot further than oatmeal. So for my 6 servings or 6 cups of water, I'm only gonna need 1.5 cups of grits. Don't forget to season your eggs with salt and pepper. Okay, I like to cook my grits with a whisk so they don't get lumps in them, but this is about the consistency that you want. And now you can add, if you wanna go with salt for a more savory option, or I will probably do sugar just because that's what I grew up with, but you don't have to do that. But
that was your dad, not me.
But this is about what you are looking for. And if you have kids, hey, I actually don't serve this in a bowl. I serve it on a plate because it spreads it out thinner and it cools off faster. Little hack for you if you have children. Here are the plates, and I know it's definitely not as appetizing on a plate, but I'm telling you, it cools off so much faster. Like if it was in a bowl, the kids would just sit there with it for a long time waiting for it to cool down because it's so hot. But this is all 12 eggs. I still have some in the pot, so I know the kids are gonna come back and get seconds, but this will be gone. Breakfast days 1 through 3. Let's make some homemade biscuits. Now I doubled my biscuit recipe for this. I've been using this biscuit recipe for maybe 10 years or so, and it is delicious. I typically make it with butter, but I used the shortening, and honestly, guys, it came out just the same. So it's a money-saving little hack for you to use shortening instead of butter. It's really easy to make. This is why I bought the buttermilk, because it makes the best biscuits. So I ended up doubling this recipe and making the biscuits twice throughout the week. Doubling it gave me, I think, 20 biscuits. So I ended up with 40 biscuits throughout the entire week. And if you take nothing else from this video at all, get this biscuit recipe and incorporate it into your arsenal. What I like about these is you can add extra water after you kind of mix it up if it's feeling too dry. And it was for me. I live in a dry climate anyway, so it did need a little bit extra. And then as you start folding it together, all of the crumblies will start to come together. This is so easy to make. It bakes in 15 minutes. There's no rising time or anything. And I went ahead and just cut it into like little squares with this dough cutter. And I've heard you can pick these up at the Dollar Tree for $1. So if you want to get yourself one of those, I think it's a nice little addition to your kitchen. You can use this for anything, breakfast, dinner, lunch. I love homemade biscuits. Our next 2 mornings of breakfast are going to be these homemade biscuit and egg and chorizo sandwiches. Somewhat like, you know, an egg, sausage, biscuit you might get from McDonald's, but homemade and way tastier. Man, these biscuits smell so good. And because I made 20 of them, we can have breakfast for today and tomorrow and for also a dinner. The last 2 days of breakfast are going to be black bean and egg tacos. Or, I mean, I would say burritos, but they're a little small for that. But anyway, we have these corn tortillas. I heated them up on the skillet a little bit, and some black bean, kind of refried beans. I simmered them in a little bit of water, salt, crushed red pepper flake, touch of cumin, and some garlic powder, just to give them a little bit of flavor. And I have basically 1 egg per person, and have these little breakfast tacos for everybody for the last 2 days, and we are officially out of eggs. I also wanted to mention that you could make this better by adding some fruit if you have that in the budget, and some salsa on top, and some cheese would also be really, really nice. For lunch days 1 and 2, do not underestimate the power of a PB&J. I happen to know that your traditional loaf of bread makes 9 sandwiches. Back from my freezer sandwich days, we have 6 here, 1 banana for everybody, except for me, because I do have an allergy to bananas. I get very, very sick, so apple. Boys want extra sandwiches. We can do that because we have a whole nother loaf of bread for tomorrow. So that will not be a big deal. PB&J for the win, I'm telling you. Even as an almost 40-year-old adult, still one of my favorite things. Lunch for the next 2, maybe 3 days, we'll see how it goes, is going to be a pasta salad with some of our veggies, half of my broccoli, the entire bell pepper, 1 carrot, 2 of my chicken thighs, cooked chicken thighs are in here. And I'm gonna put in the entire 1 pound of cooked shell pasta, which we'll add in just a second, and as much creamy ranch dressing as it takes to make it like coated and taste good. So we'll kind of see what we end up with here. And if you happen to have like a more red bell pepper or cucumber, or honestly, whatever veggie you like, you can add to this with whatever dressing that you like. You don't have to do ranch, you can do Italian dressing, you can make your own dressing. This can be adaptable in a lot of different ways. And hey, if you have bacon in your fridge, that's also a great choice. Completed pasta salad, and you know, if you have some mustard in your refrigerator, that would be a really nice addition, along with a little splash of vinegar, just to give it a little bite. Would also be really, really nice. And as it sits, I'm pretty sure this is only gonna be 2 lunches and not 3. So I'm gonna have to figure something out for day 7. We are going to make a tomato soup. You might be wondering why I don't have any tomatoes here, but it's because I am beginning with my onion, and I'm gonna throw in some of the carrots that I got to kind of cut the acidity of the canned tomatoes. Instead of adding sugar, hopefully that will work. And I like this tomato soup recipe because there's very few ingredients. It's basically just your vegetables, canned tomatoes, and some chicken stock and salt and pepper, and that's all. And then from there, you can add some extra things if you want. We'll kind of see how it goes. And here go our veggies. And they're in fairly large chunks because I am gonna puree this at the end, so I'm not really concerned about how big they are since they're gonna be all blended up anyway. Once my onion and carrots are soft, or softer maybe, I'm gonna be adding these 3 cans of whole tomatoes and this homemade chicken broth I actually have from cooking my chicken thighs in my Instant Pot, and then I will add water as well. Okay, I added tomatoes, the chicken broth, and maybe 1 full can of water, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, a little bit of pepper, just eyeballed that, and maybe not quite a tablespoon of basil, because I did have it in my pantry. Basil is a pretty typical spice. You can get it super, super cheap. So we're just gonna bring this up to a boil and simmer it for about, I'm gonna say 40 minutes or so. You can also do this in the Instant Pot way faster. I need 2 lunches. I have tomato soup, homemade tomato soup, and we actually didn't eat all of the bread, so everyone can have a slice of bread to go with their soup. If you happen to have extra cheese or something, you can make grilled cheese and tomato soup. That's something that Dave had a lot growing up. We didn't typically do that. We just had tomato soup with saltines. So if you have saltines, that could be good too. Anyway, here's lunch for the next 2 days. Homemade tomato soup with a slice of bread on the side. For my last lunch, I had a little bit of leftover rice, some black beans, and some chorizo. So all I'm doing is mixing these together, and I'll taste for salt, and we're gonna put them on our remaining corn tortillas with some sour cream. We're gonna have little like chorizo, black bean, rice tacos or burritos or whatever you wanna call it. along with our cucumber that we got. We'll slice that up and we'll have that on the side. So let me mix this up, heat it up, and serve up lunch. Hey, this is our last lunch. I actually still had some carrots left over, so I cut up all the rest of the carrots I had, the cucumber, and I didn't use all of my ranch in my pasta salad, so we can have that on the side. And I finished up the rest of the tortillas. I have the beans and rice and chorizo filling. It smells amazing, by the way, and some sour cream to go on top for the ones that would like to have that. Dinner tonight is going to be a meal I ate all the time growing up, and it's chicken rice soup. And I actually made it so much early in my marriage that Dave was like, okay, you need to stop making that. We've had it enough. But it's still one of my favorite things, and I'm excited to share it with you today. It's really, really simple, and I love it because you can extend your chicken to feed a lot of people by making it a soup, right? You don't need that much protein. So we're gonna chop the celery, carrot, and onion, saute it for a little bit, add chicken broth, which I'm just gonna be using these because I have them in my pantry. I'm not even gonna chop the chicken. I'm just gonna throw it in big like this. Some bay leaves, some thyme, got some pantry items right here, until the chicken is cooked and the vegetables are soft. Then I will shred the chicken, put it back in, and add like 1 cup of rice or so and cook it right in the pot. Here we go. Okay, I'm sauteing all the veggies. Is there anything more appealing than just this huge pot of beautiful vegetables? I just think it's so gorgeous. And then I threw the chicken in whole, like I just said, and let it kind of sear on each side before I added all the chicken broth and the rest of the spices and things like that. So this next shot is going to be all of my chicken broth is in there. I'm adding some thyme. Thyme is one of the key ingredients to this, as well as a couple of bay leaves. This is something you could get fresh and stick in the freezer, or you can get dried bay leaves. They're very inexpensive and just keep in your pantry all the time. What was great about this is even Dave, even though I haven't made it in a long time, said, wow, this is so good, you're allowed to make this again. So that was really exciting. It's more of a chicken and rice stew than a soup, but it's something that my mom came up with to make for my dad, who wanted the chicken and rice dish, and she didn't know what he was talking about until she kind of came up with this. It took her about 5 years to figure out what he was looking for, and you can kind of see how thick it is right here. It's more of a stew. Dinner for the first 2 nights, I just tasted it for salt, and I remember why I loved it so much as a kid. I don't make it very often for my own family just because I had overcooked it like too many times, like I said earlier, but I adore this soup. I'm telling you, you can double it, triple it, and just eat it for leftovers for a week, because it's totally what I used to do as a kid. Go make this. Oh, and if you really want to take it over the top, squeeze the juice of a lemon in too. Yeah, really nice. Tonight for dinner, we are having black bean and rice, kind of burrito taco kind of things. So since I have corn tortillas, I am just heating them really quick, a minute per side, in my cast iron skillet, so they're more pliable, well cooked. And each person can basically have as many as they want. I would imagine they'll do 4 each, and we're just gonna put rice and beans and cheese on them like this. So we're starting with this per person, and Haley is on the hunt for the sour cream. Oh, there it is, to dab a little bit of that on top as well. We've got these little black bean and rice tacos, and they can have as much as they want. There's plenty. The next meal is going to be this kidney bean casserole from the Joy of Cooking cookbook. It's a dinner that I found early in my marriage because it used beans. It was very cheap. The only change we're making today is we're going to be using small red beans instead of kidney beans. We will be switching out the whole tomatoes with Mexican style, or tomatoes with green chilies in it. And I did make a note that you can serve this with rice, but we will be serving it with biscuits. So let's get started. Okay, I have in a saute pan some oil. You can use the shortening that we picked up, and I will be sauteing 1 onion. And once that is soft, we will add our garlic. My onions are soft, so I'm gonna add my 2 cans of diced tomatoes with green chilies. Here we go. Here come the beans. I just cooked them in the Instant Pot. If you guys want to check out how I like to cook dried beans, or all the different ways you can cook dried beans, I will leave that video up there and down below for you. Fully dedicated on cooking dried beans. 2 to 4 teaspoons of chili powder, some black pepper, not too much, but I'm not left-handed, and I have 1 teaspoon of salt. So stir all this around, simmer it for a minute, and we will stick it in the oven. It was looking really thick, so I added a little bit of water, and you can kind of see the consistency now. There's a little bit of liquid in here. And it was smelling extremely acidic, so I added just a pinch of sugar to cut the acid from the canned tomatoes. I find that canned tomatoes are just super, super acidic. So this is going to simmer for just a couple minutes, and then we're gonna top it with the rest of our cheddar cheese and stick it in the oven to bake. So I baked this in the oven for about 35 minutes and then served it with the biscuits. Of course, cornbread is great, and you can also serve it along rice if you have some. Dinner tonight is going to be the last of our chicken and my attempt at a ramen style stir fry. So I have the last 2 chicken thighs chopped up right here. I had cooked them at the same time as the pasta salad chicken. I have 3 carrots, 3 stalks of celery, and the rest of my fresh broccoli that I had purchased all chopped up. 4 very large cloves of garlic diced small, my steamable bag of vegetables, soy sauce, and all of my ramen packets. Now, I'm actually not going to be using the seasoning packets in this. I'm only going to be using the noodles for the stir fry. So the only additional items I'm going to need for my pantry is some brown sugar and some crushed red pepper flake to mix with my soy sauce. The first thing I'm going to do is start sauteing my raw vegetables in my fat that I had purchased in a large pan. Once they're soft, basically everything else is going to be added into it. My dressing or sauce is just soy sauce, brown sugar, garlic, crushed red pepper flakes. And that's it. Just gonna throw all these in the pan. Of course, I'm gonna boil these in water and then add them to the pan at the end. Here we go. Pretty much on par for the course for overfilling my skillet. Maybe I should just get bigger skillets. I just added the ramen noodles, all my vegetables, the freezer ones, the fresh ones are cut up. I dumped the chicken in, and my sauce is here at the bottom. So I just have to kind of like stir it all around and make sure everything is heated through and cooked. And we can do a little taste test. I have a celery overboard. This is, all right, Christine might need a 15-inch skillet. Oh my goodness. All right, I'll show this to you after I stir it. I think I got it all stirred together. It does smell really good, and of course you could just use rice if you wanted to do that. Instead of noodles, just trying to give a little more variety this time. So let me dish this up, and this will be our dinner for tonight. I just tasted one of the noodles. The sauce is on point. It's so good. I will leave my ratios for my sauce I made down below for you. Yay! I can't wait to eat. Well, that concludes all of the meals that we ate for the last week or so. If you guys want the entire shopping list and the recipes for the ones that have it, I will leave that down below in the description box for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this take on an extreme grocery budget challenge for doing, I think it broke down to about $8.33 per person for the week, which I think is really fantastic. And we even had some leftover items. So in case you're wondering, here's what we have. We do have quite a bit of vegetable shortening left over, which is great because this is an amazing pantry staple. I do have, it's about here or so left of the flour. Something that was fascinating was to see that Walmart actually has a much better price than Winco on flour. It's basically half the price. I do still have a little bit of jam left over, half a container of soy sauce. I do still have some buttermilk and a hint of ranch dressing left, but we definitely ate all of the eggs, tortillas, all of the meat, the proteins. The rice is 100% gone. All of the beans are gone. So I do have a couple of things to tide me over for a following week that I would not have to purchase. This is one of the best. You can make so many things with this. And this is still very, very full, which I think this is such a great buy to maybe purchase at the beginning of the month and then use for the entire thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you thought it was helpful and there's people that you know that might benefit from meals like this, shopping like this, don't be afraid to share it with them. Once again, if you have not subscribed and you would like to see more videos like this, go ahead and click on the stuff on the screen. I'll leave a couple of videos and a subscribe button for you. I appreciate you hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next video.